like, what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? Live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given as a gift. If I'm a living, I'ma live it to death. So what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? And live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given as a gift. If I'm a living, I'ma live it to death. Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to the Living Hope Agency Call. I'm excited tonight to chat with you about really working your book of business. Okay. And I want to talk about what is your book of business first, for anybody who maybe doesn't know what that term means. When you're in the business for a period of time, you obviously start to gather clients. And as we gather clients, that number continues to increase. That is your book of business, people who have done business with you. Now, my question to a lot of y'all is, do you even have any organized version of a book of business? Whether you have one client, you've got 100 clients, or 1,000 clients, what are you doing to organize your book of business? I'll tell you what I did and kind of what the progression looked like, and obviously where the progression is going, which is with Lead Champ Pro and all the cool things we're working on. When I first got started, I was a hoarder of paper. My desk was in big stacks all over the place. This is the stack of people who I need to follow up with. This is the stack of people who've been approved. These are my current clients. This is the stack of people that are stuck in underwriting, like stacks of paper everywhere. You walked into my office and it was crazy. And if the cat got onto the desk, everything's going everywhere, and I'm going to have to reorganize everything, and it's going to take me forever. That's where it started. And I probably worked off of the paper stack system until I had close to 500 clients. So I had quite a big stack of folders, and every single time, and this was when I was doing in-home appointments. So what I would do is every time that I went into the home, a lot of y'all have heard about the things that I left behind, which was, a bright red folder with all of the quotes and everything, brochures and the product. But what did I take away? I walked away from an appointment and I had a little manila folder that I'd write the client's name on, and I'd have the financial inventory, and I'd have a client profile, and I'd have any sheet of paper in which I drew quotes on and stuff, just so I could always refer back to what I talked to the client about, or if there was any other opportunities there that maybe I was missing out on. So now you got to imagine doing that for 500 clients. I had 500 folders stacked in the corner of my office, and I had no way of finding out who had what policy, who their beneficiary was, any of those things, unless I searched their name in the specific company back office and went and found it. And I remember when I kind of had that light bulb moment of oh, I should probably digitize my book of business and have it all in one place. It was when I had a client call me, or it was a client's beneficiary call me and tell me that their dad was on hospice and that he was about to pass away. And they wanted to know if he had any other life insurance other than the coverage that I got for him. And how would I know? Well, if I go back and I look at the financial inventory for that client, I wrote in the other coverage that client had. So it took me about an hour to go through all these folders to find this dude's folder, and then be able to tell them hey, your dad didn't just have the $10,000 with me. He actually had another $50,000 over here that he got when he was younger. And I had the company name, and that was a really big deal. And I realized, oh man, there might be some other people who, I know that's kind of a one-off situation, but what other situations would I maybe need to refer back to my book of business? That was one. And then I had people start to approach me about, Jamie, are you doing any annual reviews? A year into the client being on the books, are you calling them and saying, hey, let's review your policy and see if anything changed and getting any additional sales? And the answer was no. I didn't start doing annual reviews until January of this year, 2023 was the first time I did my first annual review. So I was well into 2.5 years into the business before I did my first annual review. So you got to imagine, I called up my first person and I said, hey, Mary, this is Jamie. I sat down with you 2.5 years ago. Hey, sorry, pandemic, we were really far behind on those annual reviews, but I got to get you on the books right now to get that taken care of. So I got a lot of grace from some clients with kind of taking that approach, but don't get 2.5 years behind, because I left so much money on the table by not being organized with my book of business, not having a place to follow up and see when the effective dates were so that I could start to put those people onto my calendar. So what I did, it took me a while, and I did it myself. I didn't hire a virtual assistant to do it because I wanted it done right. I went and I digitized my book of business. I'm just going to see if I have a link here. Let's see if I can screen share it for you guys. of what I've got. So this is where I started, and where it's evolved is pretty cool as well. So where it started was I took all of my clients and I put them in here: name, address, date of birth, phone number, email, carrier, product, benefit, premium, effective date, policy number, if they've been sent a thank you card, follow up. This is like my VA when they let them know if they've been approved. And then if I've done an annual review with them or not, I can put some notes in here. So this is where it started. And green was their policy was on the books, and red was they had canceled. So that's where I started. And now my book of business is, let's see here. I just signed up my 920th client today. Okay. So the book of business starts to get pretty big. Now I have all of them in one place. And you can imagine if I was just working off of stacks of paper, how many people would fall through the cracks, and I probably would never talk to again. So I'm glad that I went through and I sat there and I did a minimum wage, task, and I data entered 500 of my clients about a year and a half ago. And I'm glad that I did. And then moving forward, I've got a virtual assistant. And now every single time that I get done with an appointment, I take a picture of the financial inventory and the client inventory, and I send it to my virtual assistant, and she goes and she puts it into that sheet for me, and she helps manage who's approved, who's canceled, all of that stuff. So that's the first part, is making sure you have a book of business. An organized place that you can work off of is really, really important. Now, we'll talk a little bit about how to get more out of your book of business, number one. And then number two, we will talk a little bit more about, are you doing anything with your book of business after the sale to try to reduce chargebacks and increase persistency, and then kind of what the compound effect of building your book of business can look like and the ROI. So let's go ahead and keep going. So, okay. How do you get more out of your business? So annual reviews is obviously the first place that we can go ahead and start. I think it's the easiest place to go. It's a long-term game. So that means in order to start doing annual reviews, you have to be an agent with us for at least a year. You have to actually make some sales, but this is the long-term game. So let's say I sell my first policy on January 1st of 2023. Well, January 1st of 2024, or a few weeks before, I should be hitting up those people whose reviews are coming up, and I'll kind of share a couple of different scripts with you guys. Let me go ahead and pull up my annual review script right now. Should have had that prepared, so apologize. Okay, here we go. Hey, Bob, this is Jamie. I'm just giving you a call about your fill in the blank carrier America policy that you got back in March of 2021. Remember that one that you're paying $136 a month for? Hey, well, it's time for your annual review, and we should set up a time to knock this out ASAP. We're doing everything all over the phone now, and I'm running appointments over the next couple days. We're going to review your current policy, make sure it's up to date. Beneficiary info is correct, to make sure you understand it. I'll have you off the phone in about 15 minutes. What's your schedule tomorrow or the next day? Now, you can make it shorter, longer, whatever. The best part about it is my booking ratio is like 90%. And when I had enough people on my, if you got to imagine, if you're helping 10 families a week, you do that for 52 weeks. That's a lot of families. So now I started booking up 10, 15 appointments a day every single time that I started texting my annual review clients. And guess what? They answered me because my phone number was saved in their phone, because they've been paying for a year or 2 years. So you got to think, like, I go and I buy new leads and I book 12 appointments. Well, I really want to be at 18. So what do? I feel like I've exhausted my batch of leads for the day, or I'm just kind of sick of banging the phones right now. I want to get a few easy wins. I send some text out to my current clients. It make you feel real good when you send some text out to your current clients, and then you get on the phone and do an annual review, and they're like, Jamie, how are you? How have you been? Like, how's your kids? Like, and it's a great experience to be able to bring that back around to someone who's already built trust with you. So that's how you get them on the phone. Now, once I get on the phone, there's a couple of different approaches that you can take. One approach is adding on coverage. Now, another approach would be, replacing coverage. Now, if you're ever going to replace coverage that you've written, there's something called churning business. I don't necessarily recommend it. And that's just moving people from carrier to carrier to carrier, every year. Don't do that. Number one, your client, obviously their health changes as they get older and their premiums get more expensive as they get older. So if you're not going to be able to put your client in a better position, don't change their carrier. Now, when you're brand new, sometimes you write a policy and you weren't as knowledgeable as you are now, and you realize, man, I left some money on the table, or man, actually, this solution probably would have made more sense for them. And you go back and you put them in a different position. Now, just make sure if you're ever going to do that, that the client's been on the books for over 10 months, because you don't need to be getting a charge back on the old policy just because you're trying to put the client in a better position. So just be careful on what you're doing there. If you are going to do an annual review and you do end up replacing a policy that you've written, that you're past the 10-month mark so we can avoid that chargeback period. That's super important. And then when it comes to adding on more coverage, finding out if their budget has changed. So if I get on the phone with someone, the first thing that I do, I love that the Americo back office, I can go in and I can actually pull up their actual policy. I can pull up the policy that they have, and I can get on the phone with them, and I can, let's say Josh is my client, I'm like the whatever page the summary's on, the beneficiaries there. Hey, Josh, how you doing? Calling for our annual review. How's Michelle doing? And there's a client you haven't talked to in a year, and then you drop their spouse's name. They're like, oh, they're doing great. Like, thanks for asking. How's your kid doing? How's Johnny doing? And you bring that up. It's just a big deal. And the first thing I always do is I always make sure all of the information is correct. Hey, is your mailing address still correct? Hey, is your birthday correct? Your social's correct? Hey, just want to make sure all this is correct, because we want to make sure, God forbid, something happens. There's no issues, no snags, everything's good. Okay, awesome. Everything looks great. Oh, your mailing address changed? Hey, do you have a copy of your physical policy laying around anywhere? No? Hey, I'm just going to hit up Americo and have them send you a copy. Or I've got the PDF sitting in front of me. Let me send you a quick email. It's just customer service. Like, you're sitting there serving them to let them know, hey, this is the policy you have. Let me make sure all this information is correct. Explaining the policy to them and letting them know that they made a great decision. Hey, Josh, you got this Americo, CBO. It's a 30-year policy. Hey, do you remember you get all your money back at the end? Let me make sure I explain how that works. Hey, if you die, your wife's going to get $250,000. If you become sick or disabled, you're going to get $250,000. And if nothing happens, you guys are going to get a cashback check of $73,389. Does that all make sense? Okay, great. And you just really build up what you've already gotten them and just tell them how good of a decision it was that they got that policy. Now, adding on coverage is one of my favorite things. And you start asking people, hey, has your health changed? Because if it hasn't changed, they're probably able to get approved for the same thing, if not more. But hey, maybe they had a heart attack or something, so they can't get approved for more coverage. Has your health changed? Has your budget changed? Has your job changed? Anything like that, to find out what's going on with them. And then my go-to, and obviously everybody has a different method, my go-to on annual reviews is to talk about inflation. Okay. If you watch hey, Josh, you guys been watching the news lately? Hey, yeah, I try not to watch it either. But anytime you turn on the news, all they're talking about is inflation, inflation, inflation. Everything's getting more expensive. Gallon of gas, gallon of milk, life insurance, final expenses, mortgage expenses, blah, blah, blah. It's all getting more expensive. So you'd agree with that, right? Yep. So, and then I always, just like when we're booking an appointment and we say, hey, they just make me come out there to do the medical thing, blah, blah, blah. I blame it on someone else. I say, hey, Josh, hey, the industry experts, they're just really telling us right now that with inflation, if you've got a $10,000 policy, really to pace with inflation, it really should be a $15,000 or a $20,000 policy. Hey, Josh, the industry experts, they're telling us in order to pace with inflation, if you have a $250,000 policy, it really should be a $300,000 or a $350,000 policy to pace with inflation, because everything's getting more expensive. Wouldn't you agree? And they always say yes. And then pretty much at this point, you got one of two scenarios. Either one, they're going to tell you, I'm already stretched thin to the absolute edge of my budget and I can't do anything else. Or how much would it cost to add on a little bit more? And you'd be surprised how many people just lead you right into the application. Like, you spend 20, 30 minutes with a new client trying to build up to get to the application. If you have enough rapport built with a client of your own and they have some available budget, you can be in a brand new application adding on coverage in 10 minutes, off the phone call in 20. Like it's pretty incredible when you already have that level of rapport. When I first got started, the max amount of coverage with America was 30,000. Well, now it's 40,000. The max amount of coverage with Mutual of Omaha was 40,000. Now it's 50,000. So going back to some of those clients who are like, no, I want to max it out, and be like, hey, just to let you know, they actually increased the amount of coverage you can max it out with. And you have the ability to add on, or looking at their situation. Hey, I know back then we only got, Josh set up, but like, is it important that we get Michelle some coverage? Hey, I know that we got Josh and Michelle set up, but your kids, hey, did we get any coverage for I don't think we got any coverage for your kids. And now you've already built rapport. So you have an opportunity to create those add-on sales. And that rapport, is built in a handful of different ways, but adding on coverage and annual review is one of the easiest things you can do, or helping them save money. You got started and you got them started with an American Eagle. That's great. Maybe they're like perfectly healthy 52-year-old. You got them an American Eagle, 40,000 in coverage. It cost them whatever it cost them. And then you realize a little bit later on, they had some more budget. You maxed it out and they actually probably would have bought more. So then you're like, you know what, since they are perfectly healthy, maybe I'm going to put them over with a Moo IULE and I'm going to take them from 40,000 to 140,000 and, increase the budget by $30, $40 because I was brand new. And I didn't know I could do that. So now you're putting them in a better position. So you start to see some of those opportunities come up to you when it comes to your book of business, which is a big deal. Another thing's referrals. So boldly asking them, hey, hey, okay, great. I guess I can't help you, or okay, I'm glad I was able to help you get a little bit more coverage, get you more secure. Hey, just, hey, they make me do this, but like if you had to rate my services on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate my services? And like all the clients are going to tell you 10, 10, 10, 10. Okay, is there anybody else that that might find value in my 10 rated service? Simple as that. Like just get a little bit bold, asking for referrals. If you want to take a little bit more of a methodical approach without just straight up asking for referrals, you can use what we call the emergency response network. Love the emergency response network. Hey, Josh, we got you set up. This is great. We've got Michelle as your beneficiary. Hey, we didn't get your emergency response network set up, did we? And you can do this with your new clients right now if you want referrals. You don't have to wait for a year. We didn't get your emergency response network. Do you guys know what that is? Hey, your emergency response network is, if we're assuming, Josh, if you pass away, that Michelle's going to be pretty torn up about it. She lost her best friend. Who else in your family that if something were to happen, family, friends, would probably be helping Michelle out, would probably be helping her like clean up, take care of the final, arrangements, get, life insurance process, et cetera. Oh, my sister. Oh, my granddaughter. Oh, my neighbor. Okay, great. What we want to do is we want to add them to your emergency response network because there's close to, $7 billion of unclaimed insurance every year because people don't file a claim or they didn't realize they had the policy. So we want to make sure some other people in your life at least know that you have this coverage and they can help Michelle get this thing processed, especially if she's mourning. It's going to be pretty tough for her to potentially, want to fill out all this paperwork and deal with insurance carriers. That makes sense. Who would those people be? Oh, it'd be my sister, be my granddaughter, be my neighbor. Okay, great. Real quick, can you just give me their name and their phone number? And I'll go ahead and shoot them a quick text and let them know they've been added to your emergency response network. And we've got some templates that we can share with you guys, some really cool stuff that Lead Champ Pro is going to do, which I'll come back to on that. But now, hey, Robert, this is Jamie. I just got done taking care of Josh's life insurance and he wanted to add you to his emergency response network. He's got Michelle down as the beneficiary. Just wanted to make sure, God forbid, something happened and Michelle wasn't able to, get everything taken care of, mention that you'd be someone there to support, during those final days, just wanted to get you added to it. Make sure you know what he has, take about 5 or 10 minutes to run through it with you. When do you have time? Get on the phone with Robert. At that point, hey, here's the policy, here's the info. Make sure you write that down. Great, you've got it in case something happens. And hey, anyone ever set up your emergency response network on your life insurance, Robert? And then the client's either going to say no, or I don't have any life insurance. And you don't have any life insurance. Now you're in another appointment. You got a referral. So there's so many different ways that you can use that to create a higher ROI So like now it's like I spent $11 on a lead, I made a sale, but I got 3 more opportunities out of it because I either asked for a referral or because I added to their emergency response network and got a new appointment out of it because they didn't have their emergency response network set up. Also, going through somebody you made a sale to, and this is something I'm notoriously horrible at, asking the golden question during an annual review or during the initial appointment, finding out if they've got annuity or IUL money or finding that need there. Huge money left on the table for those of us who don't talk about annuities and IULs. Children's whole life, I kind of alluded to it, finding out if their grandkids or their kids got coverage, cheap, $20 a month. Hey, Jamie, I'm already spending $220 a month. I don't really have anything left over to increase my coverage. But if I talk about their kids or their grandkids, and it's only 20 or $40 a month to take care of all the kids, I could probably come up with 20 or $40 for the grandkids. Like people love their grandkids. Like they're willing to spend a little bit more. So you can increase your premium per house by having these conversations with clients, by making it so that the time you sold them a policy is not the last time you ever communicate with them. And then obviously accidental is another great one. Make sure it's super cheap, affordable. Everyone can qualify. You can do it for an individual spouse, individual plus kids and spouse. There is cashback options for those below 50 in like 48 of the states. I think Georgia is excluded in another one. But yeah, great ways that you can obviously continue to add on coverage. Some things that I'll kind of allude to with the Lead Champ software that we have coming that'll hopefully help you guys with a lot of this is we're going to automate this entire process for you. So when a year comes, when it's like 51 weeks, your client's going to get a text message and a postcard in the mail letting them know their annual review is here. And they can go and schedule it themselves. They can scan a QR code on the postcard, get on your schedule. They can text you right there, back on the message and get on your schedule for the annual review. I think 3 or 4 weeks after you make the sale and they get their thank you card and everything else, they're going to be getting an emergency response network postcard in the mail, telling them to set up their emergency response network, scan the QR code, add their 3 people. System will automatically text those people, try to set the appointments for you. It's going to do it via text. It's going to do it via postcard. It's going to do the same thing for annuities and IULs and whole life and accidental and children's, all that stuff. It's going to be sending physical postcards as well as text message campaigns to your clients after the sale. So it won't be the last time that you're in touch with them. So I'm excited about you guys all having access to that, which kind of just brings me back to this last couple things I'm going to go through. Are you doing anything currently before we have this new system? Are you doing anything currently after the sale to keep your clients on the books? Are you sending thank you cards? Really, really simple thing to do. It makes a huge difference. We have a company we partner up with that we've got a discount. I would wait to sign up with them, so I'm not even going to give you their name. Because it's going to be inside of Lead Champ Pro. But we have a company that we partner up with that you guys will all be able to use where you'll already have pre-templated thank you cards. And as soon as you click send, it's already going to have your picture on the back, your NPN, all that stuff. Thank you cards, all that's going to go out branded to you. Birthday cards, holiday cards, all of that. So now the client is probably, I think Josh and I counted, in a year, you're going to touch them with 13 pieces of direct mail, as well as text messages, as well as emails. So like if they're ever going to buy insurance again, they're going to buy it from you, the person who's continuing to stay in contact with them. When I had no form of automation, I had to have my staff do this for me because I had no time to do it. If I was going back to every person that I ever talked to and touching them 13 times a year, like I'd go crazy if I had to keep track of that by myself. So I needed to have some form of automation, and that's why we created some of the stuff we have that's going to be coming out. How many of you actually call your clients to let them know they've been approved? Are you the person who just on the phone says, all right, Mary, you've been approved, bye, and then you never talk to them again? Or do you kind of drag it out a little bit and you say, hey, Mary, we'll find out in 24 to 48 hours if you're going to be approved. And, either I'll call you or my office manager will call you to let you know you've been approved. And a physical policy is going to come in the mail in the next 1 to 2 weeks. How many of you have ever called a client and asked them, hey, Mary, did you receive your policy in the mail? Probably not, because it's an extra step. But now imagine that's automated. Hey, Mary, hey, this is what we got approved for. Great. Congratulations. 2 weeks in, automatic text message. Hey, Mary, did you get your policy in the mail? Hey, let me know if you want to get back on the phone and have any questions answered about your policy, you can go ahead and schedule a call here, all automated. So if she has questions, a lot of clients cancel because they can't get a hold of you. They cancel because they have a question they're confused about, not because they couldn't afford it, but because they call you, you don't answer, and you're afraid to answer because you think they're calling to cancel, but they really just had a question. So like if we're touching the client first before they even have that, you're still going to get cancellations. Like that's part of the business. 20 to 30% of your business is going to fall off the books. But we look at it as if this type of system will save you one client, two clients, three clients, 10 clients a year, like it's all going to pay for itself. So it's going to set up all of that stuff. It's going to set up your annual reviews, making sure they got their policy, and obviously so that you don't have to deal with the client who's like, man, this person never answers their phone. So I'm excited for all of that. Last thing I'll kind of touch on, and then we'll get y'all off of here early, is just the compound effect of building your book of business. So here's what it should look like. Your first year in the business is a learning year. Even if you go out and you crush it and you make a bunch of money, it will not be your most profitable year that you will have in your insurance career. Probably shouldn't be, because you're supposed to get more profitable as the years go on. So when I first got started, my first year, I think my average premium per home was about $83 a month. Maybe it was less. I think if I actually did the math, it was probably like 68. So that means that I was probably getting like $700-800 a year premium was my average. My second year in the business, my average premium per sale, when I broke it down to the number of clients I had and total premium I wrote, was $1,400 a year. This year, my average premium is close to $2,500 per home. And that's when you break it all down. Obviously, it's not every sale is $2,500, but if I look at all the premium written, I'm end up squeezing more premium out of each house, because probably 70 or 80 of my sales this year have been annual reviews. So I'm going back and I'm adding on coverage. I'm putting people in better positions. Those are free leads. I didn't spend any money. So of course my ROI looks like it's through the roof in comparison to what I spent on leads. So somebody else, they go and they spend 1,000 and they make 4. Well, I might spend the same 1,000 and make 10, because I might have made the same amount of sales as you off of those leads, but then I got another 3 sales off of working my book of business. So the hope is that you get more profitable as years go on, because not only do you have a book of business that you're getting more referrals off of, that you're getting more add-ons off of, but the hope is that you also get better. The hope is that we take your 3 out of 10 closing ratio and take it to 6 out of 10, your 6 out of 10 closing ratio and take it to 7 or 8 out of 10. When I look at, this is also kind of crazy. My first year that I hit Hall of Fame, I did 428, and it took me like 580 clients, individual clients, to hit Hall of Fame. My second year, I did about 550, and I did it on, I think, 350 clients. This year, I'll probably end somewhere around 450, and I think I'll do it on like 240 clients is what I'm ballparking it out to. So it means that over time, you can actually do less appointments and make more money. That's not the mentality in the beginning, because you're not good enough. And I'm not saying that like you never will be. It's just, it's repetition. It's not because I'm like some ungodly person. Like that's not it at all. It's just, I've done thousands. In order to have 1,000 clients on the books, that means I had to have done 3,000-4,000 appointments. That's all that it means. So if you're willing to stick around and actually do 3,000 or 4,000 appointments and actually follow up with your book of business, like you're going to become more profitable too. So like the first year, you're not supposed to be insanely profitable. The first year, you're going to write off everything. You're going to obviously have money left if you're a good steward of everything. You shouldn't pay a crazy tax bill if you do it right. And then your second year, like you should be increasing your profitability. And I had a Hall of Fame producer say this to me at the beginning of the year, maybe the end of last year. And this is why I started working my book of business. He said, if you're still buying the same leads in the same way and the same amount 3 years into the business as you were in year 1, you're not doing it right. He's like, he talked about how after his 3rd year in the business, he never bought a lead again. So everything he was writing was 100% profitable. I love buying leads because I like fresh stuff. I'm a lead junkie, so I'm probably never going to stop buying leads just because it's just, if you know how to sell insurance, it's fun. But there are agents who 2, 3, 4 years into their business stop buying leads because they get so good at working their book of business. Now imagine you take your $1,000 a week, $2,000 a week lead bill and cut it to zero, but then you still help 10 families a week. How incredibly profitable are you? It's ridiculous. So you have to understand, like, there's a progression. Like, you graduate in this business in so many different ways. You're going to graduate in your lead flow. You're going to go from dialing, 3-month-old leads to dialing brand new leads, and from brand new internet leads to maybe some more exclusive branded Facebook leads, and maybe some direct mail leads and different sources. Maybe it's someday you'll generate your own leads, but you don't start that way. I've said it a handful of times on different calls, the whole myth, do what I do, say what I say, get what I get. Not true. If a lot of people tried to do what I do, or do what Sean Simpson does, or do what Drake does, or what Josh does, like, you wouldn't get the same results. You have to do what we did when we first got started, not do what we're doing right now, because we've graduated a few times. We've evolved. If you try to just jump in, like if you're in kindergarten, you try to jump into junior year, like, you're going to get your butt kicked. But like, you kind of have to go like grade by grade. Everyone starts in kindergarten. Everyone starts working old leads. Like, nobody starts on $100 leads. It's kind of ridiculous. If you do, you probably got your butt kicked. I've had more $100 leads tell me to F off than I can count. And if you're brand new, that's pretty discouraging. So why wouldn't I want the $3 leads to tell me to F off? Because I've got 99 more of them. So who cares? I'm just looking for the 15 that say yes. So you graduate. You start off working these leads, you get to these leads, these leads, these leads. And then you start off selling $40 a month policies, and you work your way into $80 a month policies, 120. Like, you're looking at people in the group, and you're like, how in the world did they just sell a $6,000 a year annual premium? They graduated to it. It didn't, I mean, sometimes you just fall into it. I've seen new agents just fall into huge sales, of course, but like, how do you consistently do it? How do you see it where every single sale is over 2,000 a month or 2,000 a year? It's because over time they worked their way into it, because now they've graduated into a lead flow that they can create more predictably, high ticket sales. And same thing with, they're working in through their book of business, and they're consistently getting, 18 appointments every 2 days, and they're working 30, 40 appointments a week consistently. And it seems like they're working less hard than you. Well, it's because the compound effect of, if I sat with 1,000 clients, each year it should get easier to write business. It shouldn't get harder. It should get easier for you to go write big numbers if you already have a big book of business, referrals, annual reviews, add-ons, all of that stuff. Plus, that should give you more confidence to help the new clients. And then now the compound effect of, now imagine you have a system that automates this entire thing. No one falls through the cracks. Every single person gets reached out to for an annual review. Every single person is offered an add-on. Every single person is, asked if they got their policy in the mail. Every single person is, asked, hey, do you have any questions? Is there a time you want to jump back on my calendar to review your policy? And imagine that saves one client. Imagine you send out a text message or a postcard that asks about an annuity, and somebody says, I've got $1 million I want to transfer into an annuity, and you make an $80,000 commission. All it takes is one. So a lot of these practices, they seem extra. They seem like a lot of extra work. They are. My first year in the business, my persistency was 96%. Industry average, 20 to 30% fall off. Now, my persistency is not 96% anymore, because now I've been in it long enough that the numbers have gotten way closer to the average. But I really do think when I had less clients, I cared a lot, and I added some extra touches that made some of those people stay on the books. Then as we got bigger, I knew I couldn't do it myself, so I started to have a staff member do it, a virtual assistant. Then now that we've gotten big enough, it's like, how do we automate that? And how do we make it so everybody has it, no matter what their level of, work ethic or care is for their clients? Even if you don't give a crap about any of the clients, we want to put something in place that makes it look like you do, save you from yourself. So we're excited for some of the things that we do have cooking, some things that we do have coming. We really, really know that it's going to, make some waves in helping you guys become more profitable. But my kind of call for all of you is just to get more serious about tracking your current book. If you don't have a book, start a book. Get off of the physical paper system, move digital, put it in a spreadsheet to start. The hope is that once Lead Champ launches, you'll be able to have all your clients there. all of them there. Without giving you guys, spilling the beans on too many features, we even have a missed payment notification that'll go to your client if they forget to make a payment. You can just drag them in and they'll start badgering them to make sure they set up their payment and get it taken care of. So there's some really cool things we've got coming. I'm excited. I think that you guys are really going to like everything. And my encouragement again is just get your book of business set up, start getting organized. And if you've been in the business for well over a year, start going back, start sending some text messages. I remember when beginning of this year, I started sharing I was doing this, and there's a few people that kind of followed suit. I think Kasha was one of them, and she sent some text messages and she was like, oh my gosh, that was like the easiest appointment booking I've ever done in my life. They like actually wanted to hear from me, and I was off the phone quicker than anything else. And a lot of them sent via text message. I didn't have to talk to them on the phone. And I already had, 6, 7, 8 more appointments than I would have had if I was just calling regular leads. So if you're not there yet, just get your mind there in the long run. Start preparing yourself. Another thing, I'll kind of leave you all with this. Paul McLean, legendary sales guy in insurance, he said every appointment he would write down whatever that like little rapport builder was that he had, he'd write it down. So if it was their dog's name, like their dog's Benny, he'd be like, hey, Robert, how's Benny? And he would like write that down on their file, and they'd be like, how the heck did he remember my dog's name? Like how's like they mentioned their grandkid. Hey, what's your grandson's name? He's going to college. Oh, he's going to college at Clemson. Great. You like write that down on the file. And then a year later, like you pull that out of your hat. How's Clemson going for your son? They're like, what? Like this person actually really cares. So like, if you're going to start tracking your book of business, it's really simple. Put in a spreadsheet, name, address, date of birth, phone number, email, carrier, the product, the benefit, premium, effective date, policy number. If you've sent them a thank you card, and then just like put a little notes section. And then start going through it. Be like, okay, when's the year coming up? And then when you call them or you text them, make sure you mention specific policy info. I've had people who are like, they don't remember me for some reason. I'm like, hey, I'm the guy who you sat with back in September of 22. And we got that policy with Mutual of Omaha, the one that you pay $176 a month for. Like that's how I do my open with everybody, is what carrier, when I sat with them, and how much they pay per month. And everyone's like, oh, I don't remember you, but I remember that 176 comes out of my account every month. What's this about? So you're able to, very quickly build that rapport that you already have and bring it back to the forefront. So I hope this helps. Hope you guys get something out of it. And hopefully some new tools that we have coming here shortly will help you guys do this in automated fashion. So we're really excited. So we'll still be on here. We got some more appointments, more live dials. Stick around. Everyone's always welcome. If you have questions, stick around after. We can jump in a breakout room, or you can shoot me a text. If anyone doesn't have my number, I'll throw it in the chat. And anybody can go ahead and reach out. So I hope everybody has an amazing night. I got a few more appointments tonight, so I'll still be here, and I know a handful will be too. So everybody have a great night. We'll talk to y'all soon.